Right then. Sensational Sunday morning here. Coffee and a pipe. Yeah. Scrunchy should be on her way pretty soon. Because, once again, we're going to church. Speaking of church, the pastor contacts me yesterday. Asks if he can swing by for a visit. He lives probably 500 yards that way. Yep. Next road over. I wanted to see the place. Get to know me a little better, you know. So I said, sure, come on over. Yesterday I didn't get much done. It was just kind of a sitting here in the chair watching some YouTube and thinking about what I wanted to get done, but of course I couldn't because I didn't have insurance on the Jeep and I didn't want to go anywhere. I got that fixed. Contacted my guy. He's like, oh snap, I forgot. Sometimes technology is nice. So he was able to do the paperwork and stuff on his laptop, have me log on to the website for Progressive, e-sign, electronically sign all the documents, and within a matter of 15 minutes I am fully insured on the Jeep. For cheaper than what I was paying before. Yep. Now this time I opted. They split it up twice a year for payment. So I opted to pay for 6 months. And then I'll get a notification electronically that the next 6 months is due. I just did that instead. Speaking of paying, it was weird. I still don't know what's going on. I think I might have got my Sunfire heater for free. Yeah. I checked my checking account Friday at the close of business on Friday, and I had a whopping $130 left in there because I've been buying stuff. And I'm like, oh geez, payday's not for another week. I opened my checking account mid-morning yesterday, and there was a $1,800 infusion. What? Saturday. This happened yesterday. Well, my payday is normally on a Friday, and I normally know on Thursday I can access my paycheck app on my work phone and I can see ahead of time, a day ahead, what my paycheck's going to be for an amount. That never happened because I checked it because I wasn't sure. When's payday? So I was like, payday's next Friday. Mid-morning yesterday, I opened up the checking account, and there's $1,800 and 130 sitting in there, and I'm like, what the hell just happened? So I start scrolling back in my ledger, and I don't see any deposit from my employer. I don't see any deduction for the heater from Home Depot. At no point does it show in the last 2 weeks, and I just bought the thing last week or so, it doesn't show that Home Depot pulled their $1,800 or $1,700 for the heater. Uh-oh. What happens when they catch their mistake and they go to try to pull that money, and now we got an overdraft situation, right? So that happened. Now, the Christian thing to do, the white liner thing to do, is to notify Home Depot, hey, I think you made a mistake. You might want to pull your money. I'm still mulling over whether I want to do that or not. Should do it. Anyway, back to church. So the pastor contacts me, hey, can I come by for a visit? I'm like, sure. I'll be just putzing around the yard. So I was out in the shop putzing on the water pump system for the trailer, finishing that build, and he showed up. I told him to bring his wife, but he showed up by himself. And she's got a medical condition. She suffers from insomnia, I guess. So she doesn't get very good sleep. And she'll wake up in the morning. She has great ambition to do something, projects, whatever the case may be. And then a couple hours into the morning, since she's so exhausted, but she doesn't know it, she hits a wall and she can't go anywhere. She's just like, oh, I gotta nap or try to nap. So she wasn't along, it was just him. So I gave him the tour. He loves it. He's like, oh, this is beautiful. I showed him the area that I'm working on to make like a swimming beach for future baptismal services in the church, instead of going to a public park and doing it at a public swimming beach where it's not going to lie, that would be embarrassing for me. He considers it an act of witness. I don't want to be baptized while there's a bunch of 20-something-year-old kids sitting there having a picnic, drinking beers, with music loud, and throwing frisbees. You know what I mean? I want that to be like a private thing. So he's considering utilizing my gesture of offering my place as a baptismal site in my lake for the church. Cool. But I gave him the tour. Turns out it's a really small world. He knows my dad from back in the day when my dad was a teacher in Wisconsin here and was the planetarium director at one of the local high schools down in Central. He had been to the planetarium for astronomy is one of his interests, the pastor's. He saw my binoculars here that my dad gave me, sitting over here on the big binoculars that are sitting on the tripod there. And he got all sorts of excited. Oh, I've been looking for some good high-powered optics for stargazing. And then I told him, I said, anytime you get an itch up your nose to do some stargazing, you're more than welcome to come over here to the house, grab that, go out on the yard, out on the dock, and observe away. At some point, I'm tossing around the idea of building a swimming raft that you don't have to swim to get on the raft. It'll be hooked up to a rope. It'll be sitting out on the lake, and you will drag it to shore with a rope, climb on board, and with a canoe paddle yourself back out and drop an anchor. I'm designing that in my head. And then you can just lay on your back on the raft at night and look at the stars. Yeah. So that option would be available for him as well. I won't be doing much of that. Stargazing's not really my thing unless there's UFOs whipping around. Now I'm getting curious. But if he wants to do that, he's more than welcome to. And he's more than welcome to use the optics. So my dad got that for me for nature gazing. And I haven't used it yet. Yeah. While we were here doing the tour, I showed him everything, talked about the house, my dreams, my projects, what I'm going to do. We're down here in the lower yard by the lake, and an otter, one of the otters, come trundling down the side of my house here. Bloop, 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 and went down into the lake. Way cool. Yeah. He saw my violins sitting up in the music room. He's like, oh, you play music? And in my head, I'm screaming, no, I'm not going to play in church. probably will end up playing in church. Ugh. Anyway, he was here for about an hour and a half. We prayed for Scrunchy. Scrunchy's not a white lighter yet. I'm not the perfect white lighter either. No, not by a long shot. And so we prayed for Scrunchy that she would come to the light. Like Scrunchy said last night when I was talking to her, she's like, if I wasn't curious and interested in it, I wouldn't be going to church with you. Yep. She's one of these people, if she doesn't want to do it, she's not going to do it. She said, so the fact that I'm coming to church says something. She's curious. She has questions. She wants to know if it's legit and it's real, and she needs somebody to prove that to her. So I talked to the pastor about it, and I said, all right, you got a challenge. Yep. We got a wishy-washy in our midst that's not so sure on things. It's your job to stand up in the pulpit and convince her that it's the real deal. And he said, well, I don't take that as bragging or as a boastful situation. That I'm humbled by that a challenge has been put in front of me. And I'm like, good. So, nice visit. Yep. He, and of course I like to talk, so, man, he knows a lot more about me than he should at this stage of the game, put it that way. But my dad, he knows my dad pretty well. He remembers going up to the planetarium. He knows some other members or some other people that were involved in the school, the high school that my dad taught at. He was listing off names, and I'm like, yeah, I know him. Yeah, I know him. And it's pretty wild. I wish I'd been a little tighter with the guy when my dad was here, because my dad put on an impromptu observing session. That's what it's called when you look at the stars and you have an instructor that's walking you through it. It's called an observing session. He did that for Scrunch out on the dock. And had I known that the pastor was interested in that as well, he would have done it for the pastor. I'm thinking about proposing an idea, because my dad has spoken in churches as a surrogate pastor of sorts, utilizing astronomy to talk about God and creation versus evolution. If my dad, health-wise, is able to come up in July or June this summer with the gold digger that he's hitched his wagon to, I'm going to talk to the pastor, and I'm going to talk to my dad, and I'm going to have my dad put on an observing session for the congregation. Yep. There'll be quite a few people there in the summer. A lot of people at this church are what they call snowbirds. I almost said snowflakes. Snowbirds. So they go south for the winter. Elderly, you know. So, but in the summertime it's busier at the church. And my dad could put on one of his observing sessions, bring some telescopes. He's got some nice telescopes. Bring some telescopes, and yeah, that would be cool. I'm also going to talk to my dad about the possibility of donating one of his older telescopes that he doesn't use so much to Pastor Alex, so that he has one to use. Yep. Oh yeah, all kinds of busy stuff there. I went down on the dock for a little while, and fished for a bit. Didn't catch a friggin' thing. I watched some people that are up for the weekend tooling around out here in a pontoon boat, drag trolling for crappies. I didn't see any of their rods bending and anybody hoisted in fish, so the pattern might have changed. The lake could actually probably be turning over right now. I'm not going to explain what that is. Look it up. Lake turnover. If if you don't know. And when that happens, everything goes dead for 2 to 3 weeks because the lake is in a state of turmoil as far as oxygen levels and volumetric flip-flop, things like this. That could be what's happening because we have an early fall. Yeah, fall is here early. Winter's going to be here early. I think we're in for a rather harsh winter this year, which is not good. Not a fan. But anyway, so he left. I was interacting with Rob. I gotta refresh my coffee here, so I'll keep talking. I was interacting with Rob right away in the morning because he's in a battle right now with Kate. It's a battle of wits, and it's a power struggle. And Kate is a control freak dominant, and Rob, he hasn't been with her very long. And I think in the beginning, he was being Mr. Nice Guy, Mr. Yes Dear, and letting her have her way. He wasn't standing up to her. He was being a simp, as it's called, simpleton. Finally, he stood up for something he strongly believes in, the sanctity of his shop. He doesn't want miscreants coming in and using his tools. It's not a community workshop. We had those in the military. The base I was stationed on had a auto shop, auto garage, with all of the tools you would need to work on your cars, including a paint booth. I did a lot of custom paint jobs on cars. I shouldn't say a lot. I did a couple at that facility. But they had a cage, and all the tools were in the cage, and you would go and you would rent a tool. You would have poker chips. You paid a fee or a membership fee, I can't remember what it was, to be part of the auto club. And you were issued poker chips with numbers on them. You'd go up to the cage, you'd say, I need a 3/8 ratchet wrench and a rack of sockets. And you'd put a number chip down, and they would give you the tools, and they would write that number down. And at the end of the day, you had to return all those tools associated with the chips, and then you got the chips back. Things like that. It was very structured. Well, Rob is not running a community garage for some miscreant car club. So he doesn't want anybody in there using his expensive Snap-on Matco Professional Series ASE auto mechanic quality tools. He's got $10,000 in tools sitting in there. He didn't know. So Kate is telling her daughter, who's part of this car club, Kate's trying to be a good mommy and a friend to her daughter. Oh yeah, I don't see any problem with your friends, your car club friends, coming over, hanging out at the house on a weekend and wrenching on their shit using Rob's tools. What's mine is yours, she told him. Well, anyway, it's turned into a big thing. It's a problem. And the battle's still going on. So what I've been doing is I check in the morning with him. How goes the battle? And he'll give me an update on what happened that night. Well, the other day he took his wedding ring off and threw it at her, and now he can't find that. It rolled down a heat vent or behind a dresser or so. He can't find his wedding ring. She took hers off and put it on her right hand, or I don't know if she even put it on. She changed her relationship status on Facebook to separated. Oh yeah, it's turning into a shit show. He's already looking for apartments. Yeah. So yesterday morning when I was talking to him, he said, yeah, I just need to spend some time away. I said, well, come on up here. Come up to the lake house. Hang out. You can spend the night if you need to. If it's that bad, if it's that tense in your home environment, you can crash here. So he went out with his daughter, spent a part of the day with his daughter, and then He sends me, and I wasn't hearing anything from him. And it's rolling on 7, 8 o'clock at night. And he says, is it still too late to come up? I'm like, I had just finished dinner. We all know what happens when I eat dinner. I'm like, dude, I was about ready to pass out here. But you gotta suck it up for a friend in need, right? I said, yeah, I guess you can come up, hang out for a while. I'm going to church in the morning, so I need to get up and going. So I wanted to go to sleep, but yeah, come on up if you want. So he did. He shows up here. I didn't think he would. So we sat up here. He was having the battle on the phone with Kate while he was sitting here. The battle kept going on. Jabs being thrown back and forth. Kate's a master manipulator and mind game player. And yeah, I remember that from when I was back with her. Now, here's something I didn't know. Kate's also proved to be a liar. I didn't know that Rob didn't know that Kate and I were in a situationship years ago. I didn't know that. I assumed Kate told him. She never did. Yeah. The room got quiet when that slipped out. We were talking about this and that, and I said, well, I remember the time back in the day when Kate did this to me, or Kate did that to me. And he's like, wait a minute, you were dating her? I'm like, yeah, you didn't know that? It wasn't dating, it was a situationship, you know, because I was married. She was the first one I was transgressing with. What Kate told Rob was that she would never be or date with me because I smoke. So this whole time, Rob has been thinking that Kate and I have never knocked boots. We're just friends that we met somewhere along life's path. And I slipped it out yesterday that, no, it was more than that. And here's a couple of major lies that Kate told me. Like she was home, and I went to her house and she actually wasn't home. Things like that. Yeah. The problem was, the reason this subject came up was the possibility that Kate is a cheater. During their interaction back and forth when they were messaging, Kate thought he was at home, that he was out in his truck, his semi-truck, in the driveway, hanging out in his sleeper cab. She didn't know he had left. And he had gone with his daughter to take her back to her place. They went to a motorcycle museum, and then that he was currently sitting here. Kate didn't know that. So Rob told her this. Rob told her his itinerary for the day, what he did, and who he was with. And then he asked her, what did you do? How'd your day go? And she said, that, well, he knew in the morning, he saw her leave. She got in her car and left, which is something she doesn't do. She's a homebody. She goes to work, and on the weekends and the nights, she stays home. But yesterday morning, relatively early, she got in her car and left. And never told him where she was going. He watched her go. So he said, where did you go? What did you do? And she said, does it really matter? That was her response. So right there, game player Kate was planting the seed of mistrust and doubt into Rob's mind. And then Rob hears that I had a couple of experiences where Kate was not where she said she was, and I caught her in the act. So now Rob is wondering if she's out cheating on him. If she's been talking to some guy during the week on her phone behind his back while he's out in the truck driving, and she went and hung out with him because they're separated. She put in her Facebook status that they're separated. So in a woman's mind, when you do that, the diva did this all the time. She was famous for this. When they break up with you, they absolve their guilt for knocking boots with somebody else. Well, I broke up with him, so now I can bang this person, and it's okay. So that freaked him out, and he got pretty tense about it. But I don't think she still told him where she went and who she was with. And if she ever does, it'll be a straight up lie. Yeah. So anyway, it was getting long in the night, about 11:30. And I'm like, dude, I gotta crash. I gotta go to church in the morning. I gotta crash. So he didn't stay. He went home. Since Kate didn't know that he was gone, she thought he was out in the driveway. He was asking her, he's saying, well, I suppose you don't want me home. And she responded, why would I want that? For him to be away. So I said, well, right there, she's not kicking you out of the house for any reason. She expects you to be there. It looks like she's trying to be conciliatory and possibly fix things, and she's not there with, you know what I mean? So I said, I think you better go home. I think if you stay here, you're going to drive the final nail in the coffin. And she's going to run. She's going to go. So he got in his truck and went home. Well, I'll tell you what. He was literally not here. Up here. He was not here. We were watching RC crawler trucks, RC rally racing, stuff like that. On YouTube, I put on stuff that I knew that he was interested in. He was not paying attention. He wasn't watching. I was happy about my new heater. I wanted to go out and show him that. And he goes, no, not right now. And his thumbs are flying. So this chair was just a cushy spot for him to sit and continue the battle with Kate. He wasn't actually visiting. But, so that kind of sucked. It wasn't him and me time. It was him and Kate time, and I was just, he would ask me, he would think of a response in his head, a smart ass response, and he'd say it, but he hadn't typed it out yet, and I'd be like, no, don't say that, or yeah, that's a good one, fire that one, so he was using me as a censorship board or something to have the battle with Kate. But that's all it was. It was just a different location to continue the war. So, but anyway, so he took off and I immediately crashed. Now, all day yesterday morning, I dumped that super concentrated enzyme solution into the sump pit back here, the lift station, and I let that ferment all day yesterday. I didn't use any water. I grabbed some water ahead of time for cooking. I went outside and did nature's business out in nature like a caveman. Slept all night. That's been sitting in the tank. And here it is Sunday morning. I got to get shit showered and shaved so I can go to church. Things like that. I need to start using water again. So that product has been sitting in the lift station tank for 2 days. Hopefully dissolving any sludge or buildup that's in there. So let's go kick on the pump and discharge it out into the holding tank. And that, where it'll sit out there, the enzymes will sit now in the holding tank and work on the holding tank as well. Plus my dad bought 2 bottles of this stuff, so I can do a treatment down the road. So as you can see, here's my floor drain that I was using as a monitor system. She's full right to the top, right? And the enzymes are in there. They're eating all that waste and all that grease and all that other stuff. And hopefully they're loosening up all that sludge. If there is any. I don't know if there is or not. But hopefully they're loosening it all up. And it'll be chopped up by the chopper pump. And it'll all go slinging out into the tank. And yeah, so when I plug in the pump here, it's going to activate automatically, and it's going to suck that pit dry in no time. So let's do that. Prop you up here. And the cord just plugs into the outlet. So that's all there is to it. So here we go. Let's see what happens. Ready? Go. There it goes. We'll hear a loud bang here when this valve shuts. Pretty quiet bang. Normally it rattles the whole house. So there. The pump came on. It evacuated the pit pretty quick. Now I can go back to using water. I'm going to put my flood alarm back in place. That thing is a lifesaver. And we're good to go. Now I can go poopy. Yeah. More poopy. Yes. So hopefully that did the trick. Yep, we'll see. But like I said, that pump has not malfunctioned in multiple days now. So it just happens periodically. So that's what makes me think there might have been a slug of sludge or something on the wall that of that pit that was causing the float to stick. Or it could be that sludge was building up on the float ball itself, on the underside, and the float ball was getting so heavy that it wouldn't float anymore. It could be a multitude of things. I never opened up the pit to look. I'm trying to avoid that at all costs because that is not a pleasant experience. Yeah. All right, it's a windy, grayish, miserable looking day out there. I'm sure it's cold. It's 53 it says, but yeah, that wind makes it colder. Scrunch should be coming up anytime soon here. So I'm going to get in the rain locker and get all cleaned up for today. Go to church around 10. Get out around noon. Might go into town and have lunch afterward at the restaurant. We're starting to fall into that pattern. The very people that I made fun of back in the day, I call them churchies. You on a Sunday, you wouldn't go to a restaurant for lunch ever because it would be loaded up with churchies. It looks like I'm becoming one. Scrunch is going to make some chili tonight for supper. That'll be nice. Yep. Good day for that. Cold, gray, windy. I'll figure out something to do around here. Some project. I don't know if she'll want to go fishing. It's kind of raw. But if she's going to live in Wisconsin and she loves to fish, she's got to toughen up, Nancy. And maybe she'll want to go out there. I don't know. Ice fishing season's coming right around the corner, and I want her to play with that as well. So we'll see. But yeah, we'll formulate something for the afternoon plan. She's going to spend the night and go to work from here in the morning. But due to our little spat, she hasn't been here all week, so she's had some time at home. She's pretty proud of herself. She spent all day yesterday cleaning her place and has it all spit shined and done, so she's feeling good about that. And you know, like I said, that's one of the positive attributes about her that I love, is that she's kind of a clean freak, and she likes a clean place, and this place is quickly turns into a disaster because I am not good at that. not by a long shot. So, but anyway, so she'll be up here, and we'll spend the day together, and yeah, it'll be good. All right, that's just a Sunday update. We'll talk to you soon.